Food consumption. Almost half of the world's usable land is now farmed. Different countries and continents specialise in producing different foods, some of which they export to other countries. The amount of food that different regions produce varies. Asia is the biggest producer of cereal crops and meat, with China producing the majority of this. European countries are the second biggest producers of meat and cereals, followed by North and South America. By contrast, countries of Africa and Oceania produce only small amounts of cereals and meat. These patterns are due to a range of factors, including climate, technology, and conflict. Patterns of global food consumption also vary across the world. This can be measured in kilocalories. If food was distributed evenly, there would be enough for everyone to receive around 2,980 kilocalories per day. This is plenty for a healthy life. However, as the map of global calorie consumption shows, sub-Saharan African nations consume fewer calories than other countries, with an average of 1,820 kilocalories per person per day. The staple foods for many of these countries are corn, wheat and rice, which contain fewer calories than meat. European and North American countries consume more calories than other nations, with an average of 3,420 kilocalories per person per day. This is because many of these countries eat more animal products, such as meat, milk, and eggs. The amount of calories consumed by people in all areas of the world has increased over time, as this graph shows. It is projected to rise a further 5% by 2050 to 3,130 kilocalories per person per day. The first reason for the increase in food consumption is population growth. The world population was estimated at 6.07 billion people in 2000. It is projected to grow to around 9 billion people by 2050. More people means more food is required. Much of this growth has been in LICs and NEEs, where people are more likely to suffer food insecurity. The second reason for increased consumption is economic development. As countries develop and people become wealthier, they have more disposable income to spend on food, increasing demand. They buy a greater variety of food and often more than is needed. Countries are also able to produce food more cheaply due to the industrialisation of agriculture, and therefore they can afford to eat more. And wealthy countries can afford to import food all year round, so they no longer have to eat what is seasonally available. The relationship between GDP as a measure of wealth and calorie intake can be shown on a scatter graph. As GDP increases, so does calorie consumption. This positive correlation is shown with a line of best fit. There is a notable exception on this graph. Japan has a lower calorie intake than other countries with a similar GDP, and this is the result of a diet which is low in sugar and fat and high in fruit and vegetables, such as seaweed. Countries that produce or import more food than is needed have a food surplus and have achieved food security. These are often the more economically developed nations, or HICs, such as in Europe or North America. Food security is defined as when people have access to enough affordable, nutritious food to stay healthy and active. Less developed areas like South America, parts of Asia and Africa do not produce or import enough food to feed their people. They therefore have a food deficit and experience food insecurity. This is when people do not have access to enough affordable, nutritious food to stay healthy and active. This map of world hunger shows those countries where there is food security, as measured by the percentage of the population who are undernourished. Those countries where more than 25% of the population is undernourished are areas of particular concern for agencies such as the United Nations. This currently includes Haiti, Venezuela, Chad, and Madagascar. To summarise, global food production is unevenly distributed. Global food consumption has increased over time as population and economic development have increased. However, the amount people eat is unevenly distributed across the globe too. Some countries have achieved food security as they produce and import enough food to feed their population and create a surplus. This is typically HICs, whereas LICs and some NEEs have a deficit as they do not grow enough food and can't afford to import the food they need to feed their population and achieve food security. Keywords: cereal crops, edible grains that include rice, wheat, rye, oats, barley, millet and maize. Surplus: more than is required. Deficit: less than is required. Nutritious: food that contains substances which help your body to be healthy. And undernourished: when people do not eat enough nutrients to meet their needs for energy and growth, or to maintain a healthy immune system.